you doing? Good. One thing I want to tell you this, as you learn Buddhism, especially mindfulness practice, later on in your life you may recognize this. It's probably life-saving for you if you know how to use it. Especially when you practice meditation every day, it could help you in all aspects of life. So that's why probably you may not recognize now, but later on you see. Because everything starts from here, from the mind. If you calm your mind down, everything is okay. If you have stable mind, calm mind, peaceful mind, everything will be peaceful and calm, and how you handle life much better. Okay. Let me for last time we have not talked much about business, right? Have you talked about it? Briefly. So let me go back. Here. So, like I mentioned, when you go to school, you study math, English, and so forth. Yeah, you apply this knowledge in your life, right? Why you write a letter to your friends, your boss, and so forth. That's why we apply English in your daily life, physics, chemistry, even math. If you are accountant, you use math to apply for your jobs. And so there is Buddhist meditation. It's so nowadays, especially so stressful, right? Every aspect of life is, because especially your generation is the fast pace, the fast pace society. We have to catch up with the poor companies, whether in school, at work, at home, and so on. So without some tools, there's no way for you to handle your life. It's not easy. So, okay, let's go back here again. So these are the 10 ways to be more mindful at work. So who are working now? How many people are working now? 1, 2, okay. It's stressful? When you work, you want to share?
I'm an assistant dance coach or an instructor. You're a dance teacher?
Oh, dance teacher?
Yeah. It's not too stressful.
Yeah. So these are the 10 ways to be more mindful, moment by moment, in every aspect of life. The present moment is so important. Always thought, non-judgment, especially when you guess.
I'm 36.
Yeah, I have your names.
Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah.
You know, 19. Especially this one, it's not easy for you to deal with emotions. Not talking about the body, right? Especially the emotions. When you deal with all kinds of people, at home, at work, wherever, if you could not control your emotion, you be control others. Right. So this is the 10 ways, and it's easy way to be mindful at work. The same, similar. Yeah, how you remember it mindfully. last semester, I brought a group of students to go to the cafeterias that around without in other store or the indoor restaurant, and we absorb the students. Here, rare per student is with mindfully. Most time when you are eating, talk, check email, and so forth, right? Yeah, so that's why this is anyway. So this faith movement, and so forth. So hopefully you may remember, or you may not remember all the things we learned here. But at least the practice mindfulness. Practice that. Can you four. Okay. So last time I showed you a short clip about mindfulness at work, right? Just go over again. But at work, listen intently to all the students, shift attention from you to them. Whether you are employees, managers, supervisors, or so forth. Listen to other people, so only take a few minutes to do a body scan. It's not easy, but if you can close your eyes 1 minute, doing a break, it's much better. Take 2 minutes every hour to turn away from computer screen. Actually, it's not easy nowadays, right? We use laptop most of the time, right? At home or whatever, and that's why somehow I work online. I have one online class. I have to raise more than 100 students for this semester. And somehow my eyesight is getting worse now. So anyway, so that's just reality you have to deal with. So this thing. So again, being mindful is so important. Right? Because mindfulness in business. That's why it's successful here. Especially if you are owner of the companies, when you do any business with other people, if you really focus on your conversation, whichever they expect you, right? Otherwise, they would not care much if while you're talking, you use a phone and so forth. So this is an office, right? Now, here, the next one, meditation has become a billion dollar business now. You know why? You know why? Now, many big businesses, they hire some meditation expert to teach the employees to do meditation. And sometimes they send the employees to study, to practice, to join some meditation retreat too. That's why they spend a lot of money for their employees. Your business. That's what we learned last time with this group. Right? The video clip. Let me go back again. How about mindfulness? How mindfulness can be applied in politics? What do you think? What do you think? Okay, here, who's this? Pieces? Can you say?
Oh.
You know also?
13.
And
8.
yeah, go ahead, please. How mindfulness can be applied in politics?
I guess, well, just like with all the horrific decisions that are going on with like government right now, them being able to sit back and actually think about what they're doing rather than just making it, rather than just doing them for like money or like lobbying sake. I feel like that would greatly benefit, I guess, like us people rather than the people that are supposed to benefit off them.
All right, thank you. How about, is this Sandra?
Yeah.
Are you? Only you?
Yeah, solo.
Oh, okay.
Solo mission.
I know if you are in the student organization here. No? Alright. Are you in some kind of teams a leadership team at work or wherever? No. So, not, politics as everywhere. At home, at work, at school, right? This is related to power. So what happens if you are a leader? If you're not mindful when you say something?
You can hurt people.
Like the president. Not eating. If he not mindful what he say, it affects millions of people, even around the world too. Right? One of his decisions affects so many people. That's so important. Later on, you are father, you are your future father, you are future mom, right? And you don't, if you're not mindful how you say to your children, look, it may affect them very seriously too. Right? So, and let me show you this one here. Mindful politics. In politics, especially in government, yes, this is your voice so important. If you are president, vice president, whoever, here, and in England, in Britain, they use mindfulness while they have a meeting. They have to call one meeting there. And you recognize this here? This is Tim Ryan. He's arrested in Ohio. He wrote a book, A Mindful Nation. This is him, Tim Ryan. Let me show you a short clip about him. Just briefly, that's it.
Probably the most essential part of the mindfulness training that those soldiers weren't trained in, but that I want them trained in and you want them trained in. What's the most essential performance enhancing kind of quality of the mindfulness practice that you're teaching?
The military does a terrific job of training men and women to experience the kind of stressors they're going to experience downrange. They get a chance to experience all the sort of sights and sounds and smells of an IED explosion, or how to use their weapons, or...
Yeah, later on we go to material too. That's him. Okay? Let's go back to this one. Practice mindful politics in this election, the last election. Okay, yeah, let me move on to mindful lawyer. Francis, not here. So, how could a lawyer be mindful in the court? It's so important, right? Have you been in the court before? Have you? Anyone you been in the court before? How was that?
I mean, I did a mock trial.
Oh,
For jury.
oh they sent you a letter, the jury?
No, it was a school.
Oh, it's school,
I went
okay. Not the real one yet.
No.
Oh, so who have attended the real one? So what happened then?
I got a speeding ticket,
Okay.
and so I went to
Okay.
court to get it dismissed. And so I mean, like it was.
So it's not serious, right?
Yeah, no, it wasn't like criminal court. It was just,
Okay. So how was the judge? Is serious?
she was serious, but she was nice, and I wasn't
Okay.
acting fool, so she was nice.
So she gave you second chance.
She told me to take defensive driving, which is kind of a second chance. So yeah.
Yeah. So most of you have not attended courtroom before. It's been intense. Last year, yeah, it's been intense. Last year, when my members he involved in some trouble with the IRS, and we have to go there to speak on his behalf. It's been intense. The way how the judgment decision. Yeah, after he listened to all the parties, his word, everyone has to listen to his word seriously, carefully when he made the sense that. So probably more of you have watched people court or some session online, right? But when you're there, you see, you could feel that intense. And what happened? How about, have you ever hired and been lawyer before? No? Oh, good. Wow. You stay on. Later on, what happened in your life? It's been take care, whichever. You may didn't hire a lawyer, right? So who are going to law school? Probably no here. Anyone here? What happened? You know, the lawyer, they count, if you hire them, they count per minute, is that right? You know that? They calculate it, they charge you per minute. So this is experience hands for them too, in their part. If they don't represent the client, well, of course no one hire them. But still, when you go there, it's really hands for them. So that's why if they're mindful, this is really helpful for them. And that's why nowadays they have the mindfulness practice training for law students around the nation nowadays. Yeah. And you know this last year, right? Last year people sit around the Wall Street, you know that movement? And in the jail, they have the program to have an image too. Let me show you some video clips about this.
Life without parole doesn't mean that you're to be punished or worked or any of that. It means you're to be warehoused till you die.
From 6 months all the way up to death row, yeah, I'm all here.
Downton's a pretty dangerous place. Somebody being stabbed or killed is a common occurrence.
The violence here, this is a breeding ground.
There we were in Alabama, very Christian part of the country, and we were teaching the teachings of the Buddha.
It's a very regimented day, stricter than your normal prison schedule.
What is that? I want to go through that.
I thought, well, we're, gonna waste some time here.
I've been through every course imaginable. A meditation course? Come on.
No one is telling them what to look at or how to change. They're gaining their insights within themselves.
I knew that I had to let things go, not just let the tears fall. It felt good to cry. It had been quite some time.
It hit places in me that I didn't even know was there anymore. And after 16 years of being locked up in here, I wasn't sure there were any places like that.
You're in the Bible Belt, and if you came in and tried to teach against Christianity, it would become a real problem here.
They should have meditated before they done whatever they did to get in there.
People became threatened. These guys are turning inmates into Buddhists, so therefore you need to shut this thing down.
I take responsibility for my actions. I didn't do that for
fake it till you make it. Is this something they can fake and like parole?
They're clearly grappling with feelings of revenge and hatred.
He helped me a lot, humbled me a lot.
What's not to understand about compassion, love, and caring?
I got life without parole. I may not never get out of the penitentiary. And this is like a break from everything. This is like freedom.
I am proud of our group. I am so proud to call them my Dharma brothers.
I didn't believe it was going to work, but it worked.
So you can watch the whole clips online on YouTube. Here, for image, when they stay in prison, it's so devastating for them. It's so frustrating for them too, right? And in our administration, we say that one day you're locked in the prison, it's like 10,000 days you're out there. You understand that? You know what I mean? You wait and wait, right? You lock in, you don't know what to do. You don't know. You stay there, and you lose your freedom. You look at the birds, right? When you put them in the cage, they try to fly everywhere to find the way to get out. So it's human. I used to tell my students, yes, I know that you love, I'm talking about my students, I know that you love computer games, right? You love games. What happened
if I ask the parents to allow you to stay in one room for a month, and they provide you everything, the food, drink, and the game, can you like to stay there? What do you think?
For free?
No way. No way. So as people, only means we want to be free. It's not talking about them. Well, of course they commit some kind of crimes and they lock up there. But still, in Buddhist view, if you have free mind, whether you stay there or out or in, you are free. That's why, see, this kind of video clips is to show if people, especially for them, know how to do meditation, they can be free mentally, even their body will put in the jail. It's so important. This is everything stuff from the mind. Otherwise, it's not easy to handle that kind of life. Especially if they are in the federal prison. Have you seen online? Have you ever been there? Have you seen online? Have you visited?
I visited.
Stay?
Yeah. I visited the Colorado State Penitentiary for some soldiers that I had.
Really?
Everyone's in color coordinated jumpsuits. Like orange is a specific color, red means you're a specific color, and black means you're like a specific category of inmate. And they vary because they're all together. So like some of them are worse crimes than others, and that's their color jumpsuit.
Yeah, not talking about they sometimes they harm each other in jail too, right?
Yeah.
So again, so that's why in Buddhism, even we're free now here, right? But somehow, if we don't know how to handle our mind, then out on prison. Prison of what? Prison of food, prison of clothes and so forth. That's my attachment. We're not free, right, from this kind of thing. That's why when you do meditation, you can release this kind of attachment, this kind of prison in your own mind setting. And even when you have some argument with other people, you get stuck with that, is that right? You get stuck with that argument, or sometimes you feel jealous to some people. That's your own prison. You create your prison. If you release them, if you let them go, you'll be free. That's your own choice. No one except yourself. Right? Of course, for them, they commit crimes and they end up there, but still, for us, we have the choice. There's so many documentaries, so many nowadays, so many video clips, and even they have what they call Dharma prison projects. It's still popular now in England and in this country too. For me, I'm so busy to teach here, but many Buddhist people, they go to prison to have this image, meditation. We have to for them. The last couple of days, one gentleman from
Huntsville?
Yeah.
Huntsville?
Huntsville, yeah. He sent a letter to my temple to ask for Buddhist books and so forth. Yeah. And now they do many people, very churches and so forth, they do meditation. What's the number?
11.
Okay, so let's move on. Now, about number 7, Blake, are you here? Oh, what do you say about meditation, mindfulness in literature? Is it important?
Yeah, it's very important. Like I'm not in the military. I've never been in the military, but I've worked a lot with people in the military, and my dad was in the military. And so, I mean, he talks a lot about how mindful you have to be, like when carrying a firearm, because it's obviously extremely dangerous, and there's a lot you have to think about. You have to think about your breathing. You have to have like the right breathing, otherwise you might pull a shot and miss and then hurt somebody else. You have to think about the weight of the bullet. You have to think about what's behind your target in case it goes through like a wall or something. You got to think about the air pressure. You got to think about windage. So I mean, there's a whole lot you have to be really mindful of when you are shooting. And so that's an important part of being mindful. I mean, there's also like mental aspects of the military that like You have your drill sergeants and drill instructors really like yelling at you, really getting into you. You have to be mindful that they're doing that for a purpose. They're doing that to stress you out, and you have to realize like they are just trying to help you survive once you graduate. So it's a really important concept, I think, to be
Even you have not been trained yet to know all the process, right?
I work a lot with some military people because I want to be a police officer and I do a lot of shooting myself, so I learn a lot with military guys. So yeah, they talk all the time about like their mindsets before they go into a mission and how important it is to be mindful of all these like variable aspects that you can run into with some things.
So they train you how to handle the gun carefully too, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I carried an M16 and a 9 or a 9mm, so.
What's that?
I carried a handgun and I carried a rifle.
Oh, really? The small one?
Well, you know, I mean, they teach you how to hold them differently and how to properly possess them so that they are not on a fire setting, but in a safe setting. So that way you don't accidentally discharge it on yourself that you're carrying it. And there's lots of that, not just firing. I mean, I was also a parachutist, so I jumped out of airplanes. And something you used to say was, you know, if you wait until jump day to check your parachute, it's too late. Like, you need to prepare and just be mindful of the fact of what you're doing and what's coming ahead. And it all plays into, and it depends on the job you're in. Be mindful of where you are in time and space.
Especially when you are in battlefield, right? Even in the enemy place, right? One move, one wrong move, they cost their life, right? And have you ever watched some little clips about snipers?
Snipers?
Like you say, right? How they are judged with the lens. Now here's what we talk about the ethical. The ethics in having the mindful training for a soldier. Yes, a soldier will be trained to be mindful to handle the guns, right? We talked briefly, right? So, like you say, right? You have Geneva. So soldier need to follow that.
Yeah, you can't. It would basically you can't just willingly fire upon anybody that you want to because you deem it as a threat. It has to come down the pipeline, as they call it, and say this is who we're seeking after. These are the only people whom you can fire at. You even have to request prior to firing upon someone unless you're in imminent danger. I mean, there's all rules that we could go in probably like days of conversation.
Yeah, I have a friend back in Louisville, Kentucky. He worked for the police department. He's policeman, and he few years. He says so stressful. Whenever he was on the street, he looked everywhere for the criminals. It's so stressful because, you know, who knows, one guy may come up and shoot him. And you know this happened around the country, right? It's so stressful in that kind of professions. And that's why he started to manage to calm down, to let go of the attachment of at least to have the better mindset whenever he went out.
I mean, you have to like recenter yourself because we live in a world with unconventional warfare right now. So it's not as stressful thinking like, oh, I'm looking for the bad guy. What's most stressful, I think, is when you're on a mission and you see like children or animals coming up to you because you see them like, at least as Americans, we're like, okay, I want to help them, but they were being used as explosive devices to kill us. So you have to kind of make that stressful situation of like, do I shoot this 5-year-old coming up to me, or do I try and give them food? Because are they about to like self-detonate themselves? Or is this puppy coming up? Does he have, because they would knock the puppies out, and they would open them up and put explosives in them and then sew them back up and then send them out when they came back to, and they would blow up. I mean, like, it was a lot, those are like more stressful to me than like trying to go find somebody. Because you don't ever want to hurt anybody who's innocent, but you never want to be hurt yourself, right?
So you went to Afghanistan or has that happened?
Yeah, I mean, it happened all the time. So you just have to, it's like in the moment you can make a decision and kind of center yourself and say a prayer or meditate and think, you know, give me the best decision and help me to not hurt someone unintentionally, but help me also to continue to live myself or help those around me.
I have one follower, she's still young, she's 27, 28. She served in the army as a military judge. So they sent her to Afghanistan to work on the base, and plus to train the local judge according to the national law and so forth. So she told me that it's been scary for her to take helicopters from one base to another because she's concerned about being shot down.
Yeah,
right? But
RPGs all the time.
yeah, it's safe for her to walk, but even not to drive a car too. They have the ID, right? So yeah, especially in that kind of war zone, this is danger. You have to be careful. Anyway, so it is stressful too. Okay, you here? You here? Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Again, the video clips I just showed you, as he just talked about. He just mentioned about
possible strategies the enemy's going to use. And so they get used to operating in that stressful environment. What military training today still doesn't do very well is it doesn't teach those men and women how to understand how their own body and mind are going to interact with those stressors. And they don't.
So we do the physical stuff.
We do all the physical stuff. We learn the skills to do the actual mission, but they're missing the component of being able to learn how to bring mindfulness to regulate.
okay, let's build on. I just give you a brief. Okay, here. Yeah, this is and this release the stress. Is let your mind to rest for a while.
What that lady just said does not apply to all military branches. Depends on which one.
Oh, really?
Like, I was in the Marine Corps, and we definitely have been explained and told how to deal with them. How to deal with those stresses. We were explained right off the bat that we're put through such extreme physical stress so that when we actually do get into a situation where it's considered more stressful than normal to non-military members, it wouldn't be so bad for us.
Like an autopilot.
Yeah.
Yes?
I was going to kind of piggyback off what you said. My father-in-law was in the Marines, and I have several friends that are in different branches of service, and they absolutely have an enormous amount of mental training that is involved before, during, and after any of the missions that they go on or any of their training that they do. So I don't agree with that either.
Which one?
I don't agree with what that lady was saying.
Oh, really? What did you say?
She from what I understand, she was saying that they don't train the soldiers.
Yeah, and I think for some people, like, they don't receive training on how to deal. Like, you almost get inundated in the military, you know, like, just here's all the tools, we're throwing stuff at you before deployment, we're throwing stuff at you after deployment, we're throwing all these things, these sources at you, but no one ever forces the individual to deal, like, you're not required to deal with it. Like, if you go and you check the block and you're like, I'm mentally fine, nothing is bothering me, do you know what I mean? Like, they let you through. And you're fine, you don't have to seek mental health or behavioral health or any of those things because you're, and so while I agree with what you're saying, I do believe the Marine Corps to be at kind of like a higher echelon because they are so ran into the ground that it's almost like deadens you inside, I think, like for the Marine Corps, like they kind of like go into autopilot mode. I think like, yeah, the parts of the Army and the Air Force, like the Air Force seems to struggle really hard.
Because they're a bunch of weapons.
Because they're not as inundated, like they have multiple resources for the military, but no one ever forces you to like deal with it. Like I said, that's the best way I can explain it. Like literally you get a checklist and a doctor walks it through with you. When you come back from a deployment, they're like, did you see any of these things? Is it bothering you? And literally if you say no and you're looking like deadpan in the face, they're like, great, you passed, good job. You know, and then that's it. So unless you have are forced to like self-acknowledge that something is bothering you, then that's what I think she's getting at. That's what I'm saying. Not the fact that I hope she's not saying there's no training being given. I'm hoping she's saying that some people aren't forced to acknowledge maybe some of the pain they're suppressing because they just don't want to deal with it.
Well, in Killeen especially, and I don't know where you were located, but in Killeen, they really have a lot of support and resources for those that come back stateside. And they do kind of put them through courses of like mental rehabilitation.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, having been in those courses, like 80% of the people in college are on their cell phone or on their laptop or doing something else because they don't want to have to like focus on what's happening. That's what I'm saying. And if you've been through probably enough trainings to where you know, like half the people aren't even paying attention because it's just like you get these quarterly trainings of like, don't sexually assault people. This is what you're supposed to do if you have mental health problems. So yeah, the resources are there, but I think the whole point is like, unless you're mindfully paying attention to it and you're allowing it to like be a part of what you're wanting to do, it doesn't matter. Like people can spoon feed you all the time, but that doesn't mean like you're doing anything with it. That's what I'm saying. I think the resources are there, but I think what she's saying is like no one's forcing people to be mindful because how can you?
Yeah.
Right?
And even when you get back from the battlefield, right? And when you release from Army, Navy, and so forth, many people, especially in military, they have some problem with the PTSD, right? The image that whether you shoot people or people shoot each other is still there. You may have nightmare. That's why many people that have that kind of problems. And so if you know how to do meditation, you release or let go of that kind of image, you'll be free. Otherwise, you get stuck there for the rest of your life.
No amount of meditation is going to get rid of that.
What is that?
That's what I was just thinking.
It's going to get rid of that.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know, some things are like etched in your brain forever.
Well, depends. So if you actually, if you really practice, you will see. You have the power to release them. You have the power to let them go instead of holding on them.
It can help people just cope better, but they don't want to get rid of the memory.
Actually, the memory is still there. The important is whether you let them go or you still hold on them.
Or you don't let it affect you anymore.
Yeah, if you let them go, if you release them mentally, they will not bother you much. But if you keep stick with them, that's what happens. You are problem. All right, so let's move on here. How about play sport here? Wow, many of you. What do you play?
Play soccer.
Soccer? What do you play?
Basketball.
What do you?
Play lacrosse for the school.
What's that?
Lacrosse for the school.
What's that? What's
Lacrosse.
lacrosse, okay. Anyone? How about others? Soccer. How about football here? No? Alright. So how mindfulness practice can be applied in sport? When you play soccer?
Sometimes, like when I play soccer, it just depends what position I play. Normally, when I play defending, a defender must be composed and stay calm most of the time. Because if you hype up jump through, then you can make a wrong move and cause the team to lose or see the point. So you have to be composed.
Anyone of you?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a game of mistakes. So it's like if you're not focused, then it
missing it, right?
And it can have a big impact because it's so low scoring.
That's important. If you want to score the goal, right?
That too, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't pay attention, you miss that. Right? That's why it's so important.
You recognize him? Right?
Yeah.
You recognize him now. It's a meditation. Then we show little clips about them.
I meditate every day, and I normally I do it in the mornings, and I do it for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I think it's important because it sets me up for the rest of the day. You know, it helps me. It's like having an anchor. You know, if I don't do it, I feel like I'm constantly chasing the day, as opposed to being able to be controlled and dictate the day. Not that you're calling the shots on what comes forward, but the fact that I am set and ready for whatever may come my way. You know, I have a calmness about whatever comes my way, and a poise. And that comes from starting the morning off with meditation.
Sorry, it's bad. That's okay. Let us move on then. Get later. Anyway, so this, you recognize him? Yeah. This is the court, right? For which in Washington, right? So okay. Juan, you want to say anything? You play games? You play sport games? Sorry, Juan. You play any sport?
Yeah, I mean, I like to play basketball around at the rink and stuff, but
You need to be mindful of your play.
I stay mindful when I play. I think it helps. But I also play a lot of video games. I don't really consider that the sport, but it uses more of the brain than like actual physicalness. So being mindful when you video games is like much harder too. You have to account for everything. Like what you said about shooting, like you need to account for everything that's possible. And it's also important to like stay calm, because if you're stressed, everything is just gonna be discombobulated.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So thank you. Let's see that from the top, right? Applying education, healthcare, business, politics, and so forth. It's the whole list there. So the important thing I want to mention is this. Now that it's so applicable, it is so universal for people to apply mindfulness practice to keep them in balance mentally. Even when you go to school, if your mind not balanced, it's not easy for you to concentrate while you listen to the lecture or even while you're taking the test and so forth. All right, so let's move on to the next one, number 9. Let's see, right here. Oh yes, can you say something about meditative states?
Yeah.
How can they say the names? Okay, yeah, please.
Yes. So 3 ideals are part of the Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path, are the right effort, right mindfulness, and concentration. And when I was researching the meditative stages, I found 2 different types. Like, not really 2 different types, but just 2 different ways of going about it. Both generally just you focus on like you have a center of like a single point that you focus on, and you get into the meditative position, and a main thing to focus on is your breathing. It says that when you're in that position, like all the negative thoughts and all the bad intentions and your overall intention just goes into one place. But instead of it all just stopping at once, it first all comes to you, so it's kind of overwhelming at first. You get a full absorption of all the bad feelings before it's all flushed out completely. And
have that experience, some kind of calmness, a serenity in your mind before? You have that? How do you feel when you have that kind of experience?
Kind of weightless. Weightless.
Okay. Yes?
Sometimes like when I feel like more self-aware, I also feel more on my, but sometimes when life gets hard, I kind of turn numb though. Deal with it, but at the same time.
Being numb is different. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, like more in control. Just in control of things, like, you know, kind of like what Kobe was saying on the video.
How about you?
It's just like any, like take on the day, handle anything.
Yeah. How about you here? Angela, you here? Oh, okay. So what's the stage of the mind of meditative stage that you have read? How many stages? Okay.
Stages, but it's like you have to get like detached. Like the first state of mind is like detachment, and then like the second state comes like with a peace
Okay.
of mind.
All right. Tiffany?
Well, I read about 8 stages. I don't know if that's right.
What's that?
Yeah, 8
Oh, that's different.
That's
Okay,
different.
understood. Want to share? Want to share your experience about that calmness?
Is it the journal you're talking about?
This man, whichever you like to share.
I don't know, it just feels really good being in that state. Like after like 20 minutes of sitting, it just feels so good. I don't know what it is. It's just like, feels so like empty. I mean, not empty, just, I don't know. But I think that's jhana.
It's just, it's like, right now our mind is like this, like a wave up here, right? You can imagine this the ocean or the pond, right? If you dive down to the bottom of the ocean, of the pond, the river, you see cloud, whichever rocks, beautiful rocks, whichever down here. So but when we have hurricanes, tornadoes up here, down here is so calm. I don't know whether you have that experience or not. So there's a life. If every day, if we could not control our minds like chaos, like hurricanes, tornadoes, or let's say if we have some problem with our friends, our family members, or our work, school work, homework and so forth, it's like tornadoes, storms, right? But if you calm your mind, it's like you dive down to the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of the river. Down here is so calm. There's just many layers of thought. If you observe when you threw a rock to the pond, the swimming pool, when the rock hit the bottom of the pool, what happened then? There's one small bubble, right? And bigger, it is bigger, and when it goes to the top, it's blow out. So if you see it from the bottom, if you see that what the water from the bottom, it would not come up to the top. For example, let me give you one example. Let's say someone curse you, for example. If you have some kind of stability in your mind, you would not pay attention much. It will not bother you too much. If you couldn't control your emotion, yes, you react instantly. You see, you understand that? So that's what is the stage of the emotion here. And up and down is just our emotion, like the wave ocean, the wave of water, and so forth. Okay. So again, let me show you this one here. I think most of you may recognize this. here what they call jhana. Four stages of meditation. When you go deep down to your mind, the eightfold path is different. So probably unless you practice, you could recognize us. Otherwise, it's not easy. Yeah, rapture with pleasure born with solution. That's number one. With rapture, pleasure born with composures. Number three, the third one, pleasure, the rest of rapture with a pure prime mind. That's the four stages. And in here, according to the Buddhist explanation, especially the one who had that kind of experience, is with that kind of deeper state of mind, deeper meditative state of mind. The first level, once feel happy, emotionally convinced of absence of straight thought. It says that when you go enter that state of mind, the first jhana, you would not feel any heartbeat. It's still there. It's still there, but this is pure struggle. And that's why you can become a down level. The mind is so positive that you cannot be affected by any negative things. If you have that kind of stable mind, no matter what people say, especially the negative comment or whichever, you still remain calm, remain peaceful. And that's the skill of a leader, is that right? Or even when you're driving the car, if you remain calm, and you drive the car more peaceful, so forth. So that is the core state of mind that people, if they dedicate their life or meditation, especially if they meditate at least 3 hours. In my own experience, if you meditate more than 3 hours, you would feel that it just about 10, 15 minutes, it just calm the mind, that's all. So that's why when you dive down to the bottom, you could feel that. And the last one, number 10. Have you seen the Tibetan monk chanting? Have you ever wondered why they do the chanting?
Why? I don't know, but I heard the Tibetan chanting, the Om Mani whenever I go to the Buddhist temple. I experience that.
How you feel when you listen to that chanting?
It sounds so like calm in a way.
So what's the purpose of chanting? What do you think?
Well, there's 3 types of chanting. There's sutra, mantra, and dharani. And the sutra chanting is thought to produce like green merit, which is then transferred to like someone that is recently deceased. And the production of the merit is very important because when a person passes away, their family usually asks Buddhist priests to say this sutra, and by this recitation, it will secure a favorable rebirth with the deceased.
This is for the sincere Buddhists only, right? That's for American people who doesn't know much about Buddhism. It may be nonsense, right? But especially in our Buddhist tradition, it's many sincere Buddhist people. I don't know whether your parents or not. I don't know whether your parents have done or not. Like they decide the Lotus Sutra, the Amitabha Sutra, and so forth. As she mentioned, that's the way to get merit, spiritual merit. And yes, for me too. Whenever someone passes away, I chant or recite some type of sutra, mantra for them. But in my view, it's like the way I tell them, I give them a GPS or a map for them to follow. That's all. Of course, if they have that strong faith in Buddhism, they would have that kind of merit. Yes?
Whenever I was researching the chanting, and then I came across the chanting as loved ones are passing away, I started doing more research about that, which I found that one really interesting because hearing is the last sense to go whenever you're dying. And so when you're with a loved one, they always tell you to constantly be speaking with them as they're passing away, because they'll still hear you. They're still in a frame of mind where they can absorb what you're saying. And so I thought that was really interesting, that it would be such a great comfort for someone who is Buddhist to hear those familiar words and be able to absorb that while they're going through that process of going to the next life.
So, whether you have attended Buddhist funeral service before? How was that?
So my grandmother passed away like a couple years ago. No, she lived in Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how was that?
It was interesting because growing up, I was always, in a Christian community. My father is Christian and my mother is agnostic, but she still kind of tagged along. And so that was really the first time I've ever experienced something that wasn't, the Christian norm that I grew up with. And so, we had, instead of monks, we had nuns come in, and then it was a very small ceremony, and then we did a lot of bowing and praying. And then the one thing that she was talking about how the last sense to go is hearing, it kind of clicked with me because my aunt, she placed a box that had it was kind of a speaker. And so it would keep playing a mantra or a chant. And then they placed it in her coffin before they cremated her so that it would go with her when she was, reborn or whatever have you. So it was really interesting to see that side of funerals.
It's pretty important. It's pretty critical. Right before we send someone off, right? If we give them some best wish and so forth, right? They would have them calm their mind, right? Sometimes the one to pass away. It's so important for us to pray for them, no matter what tradition. But in Buddhism, it's so important. And even we sometimes have to decide the Buddha names in the past, not now, more than 8 hours straight. I sat there with them and decide that name, Amitabha Buddha names for 8 hours. And I don't do it anymore. This is take a lot of effort. You have to put a lot of effort to do that kind of change. But then most of the time they can do a couple hours and they take turns. So anyway, it's so important that we remind them constantly that they need to have that type of positive mind or have to that type of path to go through. Have you ever heard the Buddhist chanting? Who have heard Buddhist chanting before? Yeah, most of you are Buddhist, right? How about others? You have not?
In passing. I did in Korea in passing when they would walk by, but I couldn't recite it to them.
Yeah, let me this is all the 70s. Take a lot of effort, what we call the throat chanting. You chant from the throat, not from the story. Okay, so all right, the last one. Buddhist visualization. have you done any research on that?
I think it's really useful to be the visualization is very useful to be in the present moment. So I heard this quote before. I don't remember where I heard it, but it was like the history. The past is history. The future is a mystery, and now is a gift, which is why it's called the present. So I always remember that one. I think that's really true because you can't change the history, and then you don't know your future at all. You don't even know what's going to happen like 5 minutes later from now. But the only thing you know for sure is what's happening exactly right now. So when you're mindful, you can remember that the present is what's going on right now.
About visualization. You visualize something, how is helpful for your minds, for your spiritualized life.
I think it helps like your imagination. So there's like a relationship between being mindful and then just imagining, some memory or whatever you want to imagine while you're being calm.
Right here, if you just step out this door, and you see on the wall, the student, they put all kind of works, right? Who are in architecture department? No, you're not architecture student. It's wonderful. They make the bridges or the building and so forth, right? They use what? Visualization, right? Imagination, right? It's so helpful. Let's see. Dennis, you here?
Yeah.
Okay, so how visualization?
I read
is
an
helpful
article that was like compared to visualization to imagination.
Okay.
And so pretty much actually have these imaginations of how we should live our lives, how we should go to our daily activities. And pretty much this Buddhist visualization can make us realize like what is the absolute truth or like absolute imagination inside our heads. So like different emotions can affect the way that we imagine or visualize things, and using this Buddhist visualization practices, we can have it see more clear.
I don't know whether you or someone else wrote about the negative aspect of visualization.
Yeah,
Okay. Can you explain further for them?
Pretty much I described like, I think in a lot of like cultures there's like this type of visualization, but there's also like these kind of skewed or relative like visualizations, like kind of in like cults or other extreme groups. And so pretty much they, like I compared it to like the Manson family, where he pretty much like had the idea of like helter skelter and the whole like race war. And so pretty much he visualized with those people with these groups, he brought them in and like use of like drugs, like chants, and just similar stuff, he used to like direct it into that way. And I think I compared it to like other like medieval ages, like Christianity, and like there was also like a group of like assassins, I think, way back then, and they kind of like did the same thing where they would have like members who would go on like political assassinations in order to gain like wealth and power.
In some of your class, you need to have some kind of imagination too. Do you have? Yes.
So I was just gonna say, visualization reminds me of vision boards. Like I do vision boards because some things that I read in some previous books were that what is before you or what you see on a daily basis is where your focus goes. So your focus can be scattered all over the place, or you can really look at your goals, not desires, but your goals, and put them down on a vision board that you look at every single day, because that's where you visually focus your attention, and then that helps you go towards that goal. That's what that reminds me of.
What's a vision board?
Google it, because I'm sure he's running out of time, but we can talk after class.
So have you ever seen the bad monks that they done the Sun Mandala? You know Sun Mandala?
Yeah.
You where's it? Here?
No, I'm just seeing videos and stuff.
Oh, video? Okay. Yeah, this is this one here. Oh yeah. Before I turn on this video clip for you. Now here again, it's so important. No matter what type of mind training, especially Buddhist traditions, you need to have the mind training to remain calm, to remain neutral, to remain in the middle way, middle route. If you have a mind training, either one attached. Let's say if you visualize, if you think about your loved one, what happened? Can your mind be stable? What happened if you think about something like negative, like the code and so forth, think about your enemies, you will not be peaceful. So that's why no matter what, you need to choose the neutral object to focus on, to train yourself as a neutral, impartial person. So let me show you a quick clip. Before they do the mandala, that's called sand mandala, they have to make the scale. They have to draw the scale and so forth. This is the scientific ways of doing this, not the novice could do. I don't know how to do that.
I've seen that happen in Korea when they did it in the sand. And there's like a bunch of monks and they kept coming by and they kept adding to like, it was on this very large circular table. And they kept doing this, but it was, yeah, is that sand? Yeah. 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 I've seen it. It's pretty cool.
So when they do this, they really focus on this is what mandala, this is Buddha's Buddhist cosmology and so forth. And they, while they do that, they decided some type of mantra too, so that they really focus on their mind. So anyway, so this is the mandala that they have done and they display. And somehow they go around to display to the public. And after they done this mandala, what do you think? What should you do? Yes?
Well, I saw a documentary on the Dalai Lama, and in the documentary they were showing the Tibetan monks and their giant mandalas that they did. And then it said after they were done that they would always dump it into the stream.
Why?
To signify that nothing is permanent and that life is ever changing.
See, that's what they erase everything. They spend so many hours, so many days to finish this kind of mandala that they destroy. That is the symbolic way to remind them not attached to this, even this beautiful. And of course, for the Buddhists, they love to have that type of sand as a blessing for them too.
If I worked hard on our project and then destroyed it, I'd be really angry. I'll like work way too. That means I'm attached to my art, right?
What's that?
I said if I've done art projects before, and if something like that happened, I'd be like really angry, like, oh, I wasted all my time. So maybe that means I'm like attached to my art project.
So yes,
maybe I
even after you have done your course or your test, you may forget everything. Right? This depend. So if you want to use this for future uses, you can this can. All right. So somehow we don't have much time to spend time for the Buddhist with read guys. So see you next Tuesday.